Welcome to the weekly Volunteer and Combination Officer section of the International Association of Fire Chiefs webinar series. I'm John Buckman. I'm going to play the role of moderator today as we talk about what actions are necessary to retain more volunteers. It'll be a panel discussion between three fire chiefs from a varying background, different perspectives, different types of departments, and not necessarily all from the same part of this country. So we're really excited today to get this webinar kicked off. So now get the slide to move forward. There we go. Our panelists are Chief Shad Cooper from Wyoming, Chief Chad Heffley from Illinois, and then Chief John Winters from Illinois as well. And they're going to talk about how they retain volunteers in their department. We use audio over voice IP technology. If the screen freezes up, we tell you log out, log back in, and more than likely that little piece of dust that was in your pipe is gone. So if you have problems, you can email IFC support at webinars@ifc.org for support. There aren't necessarily going to be handouts after this because we're not going to have a bunch of PowerPoints. We're going to have a discussion. If you have questions, you want to let us know who you are in the chat, or if you want to have specific questions and answers, please go to the question and answer sections and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. So upcoming seminars, we've already had a couple of these, but we have one more scheduled for this month in June. And so we encourage you to show up for that one as well. That one should be interesting from a totally different perspective of the presenters are all female. So I encourage you to show up for that one. With upcoming events, Fire Rescue International is coming up in Dallas, Texas. We hope you show up for that. Symposium in the Sun in November. If you don't, we're getting ready to open registration for past attendees. And then everybody else can sign in, register. If you want to come, you better sign up quick because we usually sell out about 2 months before Symposium in the Sun starts. We have a technology summit coming up in December for the IFC, so we encourage you to go to that as well. This webinar will be recorded, and so you can use it for your officers meeting. You can use it for your personal refreshing of what you remember or what you don't remember from the webinar. So, we're looking forward to a great opportunity. So I'm going to go back to this slide right here. And so our presenters today and I'll just go in order of the pictures there is Chief Shad Cooper. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shad Cooper. I'm the fire chief for Sublette County Unified Fire in Wyoming.
All right, Chief Heffley, I'm sorry.
Hopeful. Chief Chad Hopeful, fire chief for the Stillman Fire Protection District, Northern Illinois, just south of Rockford, Illinois.
Well, now I know how to say your name correctly because I always said Jason Coy's name wrong too. So sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, Chief Winters. You're muted, Chief.
There we go. Sorry about that. My name is John Winters. I'm the fire chief in Silvis, Illinois. We are located right along the Mississippi River, just a couple miles from Iowa. Small little department.
All right. Well, welcome to all three of our presenters. They're the ones that have the guts to come on here. We have a few questions to ask, but overall, we have really no idea exactly where we're going to go. But everybody who manages volunteers realize there are less of them today that want to join your fire department. But once you get them, how much work do you spend trying to keep them? Is it more expensive to hire a new person, or is it more expensive to keep a new person or keep a person? And that's one of the things to think about. So what we're going to do today is try to focus on retention of volunteers. And so, Chief, hopeful, I'll get that right. What program do you have that improves the retention of volunteers in your department?
Excellent. Thanks, Chief. I think first of all, we need to make sure people understand that retention is different than recruitment. I think we lap those things together sometimes, and people have a recruitment and retention program, and they focus on certain things, and They bring those together when they really need to be separated out in a department. And I'm a strong believer that we need to make sure we can retain our volunteers and paid on call before we recruit, because it doesn't do us any good to bring new people into our world and show them what we want to show them. So they have the same beliefs and culture as we do. If we can't keep them once they get inside the door. Here at Stillman Fire Protection District, yeah, I've been here for 28 years, and it changes right throughout our lives in the fire service on what we've done and what we're doing. In the past several years, we've taken a really good look at the retention side of things. I think mainly here at the firehouse, we work really hard on a good training program. We make sure once people get in the department that they feel wanted and they feel needed. We remind our officers often about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I know when we go through all of our fire officer training, we learn about that. But really, when people feel appreciated and people feel like they're doing a good job and that they have a part in doing something, they want to stay because they want to continue to do a good job. So when we bring new people in, getting them trained to know how to do something. I just sat with some new recruits this morning, and we talked about the importance of the job of a runner on a fire scene, knowing where things are at. You have an important job. Your job is needed on the fire scene or on an ambulance call. So your job is to know where this stuff is at. Treating those people with respect when they learn those small things is hugely important. I've been a part of the fire service when we've brought people in, and we don't let them do anything until the first, it's 3 months before they're allowed to go on an emergency run, because we need to get them trained up to here. When if we can get them through the required training quickly and allow them to be part of our process, that is a tool that allows people to feel like they're part of the team. And I think that's one of the big things here at our department that we've used. The other side of things with that is I was told during a retention class one time that if you have people that are applying for your department and you don't get back to them in a timely manner, if they apply for the department in January and you don't get a hold of them until July, when you want to put together this big group of people so you can retain a large group, then they've already lost interest if it's the volunteer world. So we need to get to these people and retain them quickly, if that makes sense. So I guess my take on not necessarily a program, but a concept is make people feel like they belong, make them feel wanted, and they'll want to do more and they'll want to do a good job, even if it's a little thing. I talked to a Chicago firefighter one time, probably 20 years ago, that said they had a guy on the job that was horrible at everything except for dressing a hydrant, but he was the best damn hydrant dresser they had on that fire department. And so that's what they let him do. And he was great at it. And so we need those people. And that's important to us here.
All right, great. And what you're saying is that you need people with multiple talents.
Right.
They don't all have to be interior structural firefighters. It could be a driver. They could be an ambulance person, emergency medical responder, whatever. Chief Winters let's go to Chief Winters on what program or programs do you have that are successful in your department?
We do a few things that I think have helped us over the years. We have found that if we can keep a firefighter for 3 years, we can keep them for 20. So just those first 3 years are the important part of the retention program. That is the most important part of the retention program for us. So we assign a mentor to every new firefighter, and it could be a firefighter, it could be an officer. We try to match them up the best that we can, personality wise, thinking wise, but we also like to see some varying degrees of skills between the people. So we might partner up a young firefighter with somebody that's more senior, that's not as good with technology, and they can teach each other different things. So the mentorship program has been huge for us. The mentor checks in on the new firefighter at least once a week, even if it's just a text message that says, "Hey, how's it going? What do you need? What can I do for you?" So we do that, and we also give the new firefighter, a roadmap of what we expect them to do for the first 2 years. What trainings we want them to do, what classes, what advancements that we want them to make, and it gives them a route, and that helps the mentors too, because that gives them talking points to the new hires. So between the mentorship and the roadmap, like I said, if we can get them through the first 3 years, we keep them for a long time. So that's the critical and key point for us, is that 3-year mark.
Great, great. Chief Cooper, anything from your, what do you have successful in your department?
Yeah. So as was mentioned, we shifted gears a couple of years ago, and we started noticing that that as was mentioned, the retention is really where we wanted to focus. And so we we called it a sensing session, but it was really a 360-degree size up with our membership. We had an in-person meeting with everybody, and it was just a brainstorming session where we wrote down ideas on the wall that were specific to retention, and then everybody voted on those ideas. And the top 5 vote getters were the things that we focus on administratively, and the big thing that came out of that was improved onboarding process and an improved mentorship program. And so as was just mentioned, we really spent a lot of efforts on improving that process. And so now we have it's a couple page long document that's all about establishing those expectations. When a new recruit joins the fire department, we sit down with them, go into great detail about here's the roadmap to get to success, and here's what's required for the training. But it's more than just training. It's about understanding, as Chief Hopeful had mentioned, where to go find something on the truck, or it's about understanding which trucks go out in which order when they leave the station. That's all part of that initial onboarding discussion. So we really put a lot of effort into the onboarding, and then we assign mentors, some seasoned firefighters that take those new recruits under their wing and do the follow-ups, as Chief Winters had mentioned, and meet with the new recruits, make sure they've got all their needs in place. But then the other thing is we really focused on we call them battalion size ups, and it's where each of our 6 stations is a battalion, and each battalion has a battalion chief. We gave some training to them about how to conduct those size up, and every 6 months the battalion chief works with the captains, works with the lieutenants, and works with the individual firefighters to do size ups, and we standardize the normal size up questions, and then give latitude to the battalion chiefs to add additional questions as necessary. But we really put some effort into creating the side rails to create a common operating picture on the onboarding, and then the mentorship, and then the regular size up meetings that are just an opportunity to give feedback, but just as importantly to receive feedback back from the new firefighters.
Chief,
All
I think
right.
I think you said
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you said a couple things that I want to key in on that I thought were great. Expectations is obviously the big buzzword, and I think that's huge for us in the fire service, especially with our newer people, and being able to retain them. You don't want them to become a firefighter that just plateaus and doesn't go anywhere. We need to meet with our people. Retention is about keeping those people that aren't just on for 3 months and trying to retain them. It's retaining those 20-year members. If they feel like they're not part of the process, then you're not going to retain them. They'll leave after 20 years as well, and not be there for you when they're capable. And so setting those expectations, having clear communication with our new members as well as our long-term members, and setting expectations on a regular basis. And maybe it's, hey, 6 months from now, I want you to be a fire officer. If that works for you, if that's one of your goals, that's one of my goals for you, and then support them in that career path, whether they're a volunteer or paid on call or whatnot. And then the other thing, you guys both keyed in on mentorship in the fire service. And I think this is sometimes it can be real controversial, because I've seen and heard of fire chiefs that have said their mentorship programs were a complete flop. And I think it goes back to vetting our mentors. We all know that we have that firefighter, that officer who is a cancer, pardon my phrase, my terminology, in the fire service. Sometimes they might be a good on the job firefighter, but around the fire station, they can cause some internal issues. So vetting those mentors, and I'm sure you guys do, but We tried that once years ago, and I remember we assigned some mentors, some people, and it was pretty bad. And so vetting those mentors, one, not everybody wants to be a mentor to newer people on the fire department. And sometimes I think when we have an employee that is looking for guidance, they might have been on the department for 3 months, they might have been on the department for 15 years. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, you've done really, really well. You're going through some problems right now. Maybe we should team you up with somebody who has also gone through those problems and overcome those problems. And it might be an on the job thing and it might be an off the job thing, but finding somebody that can meet with that person, have a conversation, those dialogues other than a direct supervisor, but that mentorship program ongoing throughout your fire service, not just for your new people to keep them interested, but for your long running employees as well.
Well, you all three of you brought up three topics that you just expanded upon it a little bit on the mentoring program. I think Chief Winters and Chief Cooper, you both mentioned about a roadmap. Is your roadmap like in writing, something that you might be willing to share with the group?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We have a list of everything that we expect out of our probationary firefighters to complete. We give them a 1-year guideline and a 2-year guideline. We track that. We track the dates that they complete it. The fire officers see this, the chiefs see this, the mentors see this. So that's another avenue for engagement of trying to keep the communication open. If somebody is starting to fall behind or not completing as much as what we are hoping they are, let's find out the reason. Is there a reason? You know, if it's summer and they've got 5 kids playing baseball and softball, okay, they're not going to be able to do as much. But then we say, okay, then in the winter you're gonna need to pick this up a little bit here because this is your expectations for the year. So it's a great guide. Does it absolutely work perfect every 100% of the time? No, but it works more often than it fails.
All right, Chief Cooper, anything to add? You're muted, Chief.
I do that every Zoom meeting. Sorry. Yeah, I was just looking to share my screen. Give me a moment here, and I'll come back to it in a little bit. But yeah, our onboarding process it is a written document but it's a living document that changes too. But you know, just hitting some of the highlights here is you know, we talk about our SOP manual. We want to sit down with our new members and go over the SOP manual. That's one of the check boxes in here. And in that checkbox, it's, you know, what day did we sit down and go over those SOPs? And then we have the mentor, you know, sign off that they went over that. But then, you know, going over, you know, maintenance on your PPE. You know, how do you clean your gear when you come back from an incident? You know, these are the kind of things that you're just not going to pick up in a you know, an IFSTA manual or something that's kind of local policy and procedure that needs some attention. You know, talking about, you know, what are our expectations when they come back from a call to rehab the truck and put it back in service? You know, how do we do that? So that's part of the roadmap that we're talking about. But then, you know, the rest of that roadmap, I mean, it goes into detail about, you know, how to use the four gas detector, you know, where to sit on the fire truck as a new member, you know, which trucks go out in which order, you know, how to start equipment. But then what I was trying to get to is the end of that document. I think is pretty unique. Is we really want that 360 involvement. You know, we want to hear from the firefighters on what are their goals, and we have many firefighters that just don't necessarily want to be an officer. Or maybe their focus is they want to be a pump operator or whatever it is. You know, they want to focus on auto extrication, and we try to encourage that, and try to, you know, allow our firefighters to find their own niche within the organization and provide whatever specialized training that meets their interest levels. And so the end of that roadmap is we try to capture that. And then circle back to that, you know, when we come back, you know, every so often and reevaluate, we want to track that progress and make sure that we were able to provide that training that caught their attention, and we're encouraging them for their own individual roadmap as well.
Great. Well, go ahead, Chief Winters. Go ahead.
Just to kind of comment on what Chief Cooper said about everybody has their own niche. In the fire service historically, and in life in general, too often we focus on the negative, something that a person is not good at, and we try to beat it into them how to do it instead of focusing on their strengths. For example, I can ropes and knots, technical rescue stuff. I can hardly tie my shoes, but I was not forced to try to figure that out. I found things like hazmat or something else that I liked, and I focused on that, and I went with it. And the officers that I had when I was a young firefighter, they just said, "Okay, you can't tie knots. We understand that. Don't worry about that. We've got people that can do that. You focus on something else." So we have to focus on people's strengths instead of their weaknesses.
Great. Chief Hovel, you mentioned training at the very beginning of your conversation, and you just mentioned it again about mentoring, and not everybody is meant to be a mentor. What kind of training program do you think a potential mentor needs to go through?
I know in Illinois, the fire officer program that we have does a decent job about how to talk to your people. I think a true mentorship program has to be vetted by somebody that is knowledgeable of what we expect from that mentee. So if it's somebody that's that wants to do EMS, that's their niche. They don't want to do the fire side. Then put them with somebody who is really good at that and that knows how to talk to people. So what we also have to teach our mentors that they don't know what they don't know. And when I say that, I mean they have to know that they can tell somebody, "I don't know the answer, but I'll find out for you." That is so important. A good mentor has to be able to listen. They have to know that. They have to understand work-life balance in the volunteer world. When a mentor is like, "You need to be here 5 days a week. You need to be at your EMT class or your basic operations fire class. You need to make sure you do this. You need to make sure you study. Plus, you need to learn all the trucks. Plus, you need to do whatever." That's asking a lot from some volunteers. And as a mentor, understanding work-life balance, that fire department life is important, but your home life is important. Your full-time job is important. And we have to put emphasis on making sure things are good at home and making sure things are good in your work life so you can financially support yourself and your family if you need to do that. If you're the person that needs to do that, you can support yourself mentally and physically. And make sure we push those things and let people know that it's okay to tell people that the fire department doesn't have to be the number one thing in their life. Years ago, we had somebody on the department that said, we need you to give 110% if you're on this fire department. And we moved that into telling people, you need to give 100% of the time that you're at the fire station. So if that's 10% of your week, if that's 5% of your week, give 100% while you're here. But the rest of the time, focus on the things that are important in your life so you have the option of coming here and being that person that we need you to be, that we know can be a productive member of this fire department. So I think a mentor taking time to get to know the employee and get to know the employee's expectations, that's a big part of it. They have to know what we're expecting of that employee so they can support those needs and those goals of the department and that employee.
Great. I want to come back to the work-life balance in just a couple of minutes. Personally, that's a big deal for me. And I've had to learn that it's different than my work-life balance when I was on the fire department. But you guys, you all mentioned about we call it onboarding, and most people identify onboarding as they fill out an application, you process their application, and you onboard them. But Chief Winters, you actually talked more about onboarding being like a 3-year process. It's not just filling out the application, processing it. So you want to talk a little bit more, Chief Winters, about that onboarding process and how valuable that is. All three of you have mentioned expectations. I think that's part of that onboarding process.
Yeah, I mean, just because they've been hired and they have a T-shirt doesn't mean they're a firefighter yet. They have the title, but they don't know what's going on yet. They don't know what they don't know. And when they start to learn a few things, then sometimes they get a little bit ahead of themselves and think that they know more than they really do. That's why we have it set up for a long-term process. It's a couple of years and it's a gradual step. I can't expect a brand new volunteer firefighter to get certified in the first month of employment. we don't have the luxury of, our firefighters taking 10 weeks off to go to an academy. So we build it up and say, okay, you're going to start with this, and then we're going to build, and we're going to build with you, and we are going to grow with you, because as our mentors are helping them, it's bringing the mentors back involved with some of the more early stuff that they learned in their career also. So it gets them back involved, and it just is a way that we can say, here's what we would like, but we know it can't happen immediately, but here's how we would like it to happen. And if we can get it done in this 2-year time period, we would be thrilled. If not, it doesn't mean you're off the department. That just means that we will work on it for a little while longer. And then we continue that on even into the officer levels. So we have the same type of thing. Once firefighters on, if they're interested in becoming an officer, we give them a roadmap. Okay, this is what we want you to do, what we want you to work on to work up to being a lieutenant. And then the same thing to advance to captain or assistant chief. So it's really a lifetime of onboarding, because we're constantly trying to get our firefighters to move forward as far as they want. We don't force someone to ever go through the lieutenant stuff if they have absolutely no intention of being an officer. If we do that, we're going to run them out. So we just it's goals, setting goals, and for the entire career.
All right, but Chief Cooper, I'm going to change the question a little bit for you. Not trying to put you on the spot, but we all have failures, and with the roadmap that you described a couple minutes ago, very detailed, so on and so forth. When you look at the times that it has failed to motivate that person, can you give me give us some of the reasons why it failed?
Yeah. Thank you, Chief Buckman. I think Chief Holfold kind of hit on it a minute ago. Is we've had some mentors that maybe didn't want to be a mentor, or didn't have training or side rails on how to be a mentor, and so we've come back and I mean it's an ongoing process. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to pretend like we have all the solutions in here, because we certainly don't. But what we're looking for is feedback to improve that process, and that's one of the things that we've heard is that from our mentors, from our officer corps, is that they need some better support on how to be a mentor. And so if you don't mind, I'll share my screen real quick. Whoops,
Sure.
I got the wrong one here again. The screen, and there we go. So that's the onboard form. Let me switch. There we go. So this is the size up questionnaire, and based on the feedback I was just talking about, we kind of put together these standardized questions on how to engage with the mentorship program, and what kind of questions to ask, and and what these questions are is, where are you in qualifications? Do you have any open task books that we need to work on? Anything that you personally want to work on? How can I help you be successful? And we have regular participation requirements within the organization, and we want to know, are you struggling to meet those participation requirements? And then, do you have any gear or equipment that needs to be updated or replaced? And then, do you have any questions for us? And then here's the bottom one that I wanted to get to is this bottom question is how do we become better as an organization? That's really where I'm trying to drill into, is that feedback is really important for us to hear, because that's where we found that we weren't given enough support to our mentorship, to training for the mentors, and so now we've come back and tried to improve that a little bit. And so this is still fairly a new process. We've only been doing this for a couple of years, but I continue to see improvement, but I also see where we're missing the mark, and we need improvement.
Well, anybody that's listening and they think they have a perfect system, call me, 812-480-4339, and we'll share it with the world. Chief Holfold, go ahead.
I think what you said was great, Chief Cooper. I think too many times in the fire service, I was told this, that when I got on, I was to keep my eyes and ears open and my mouth shut unless it was a major safety concern. And that was verbatim out of people's mouth when I got on the fire service. And you hit it on the head when you said, we're getting feedback from these people to figure out what works well, what works better, what doesn't work even. And we have to be open to listen to that criticism if we're going to ask for it. If we listen to it and we take that feedback, we might have some good feedback, we might have some bad feedback, but listening to our people and saying what worked for you. Times change, right? We didn't get trained. We don't train people now the way we did before. And same thing with bringing people on and retaining them. We don't retain people the way we used to. 30 years ago, we got a steak dinner once a year. That was our payment. Now, if I went to these guys and said, hey, I'll give you a steak dinner because we've evolved on this department, they would laugh at me and say, that doesn't work. We need other programs. We need incentives. We need, something. And I'm not just saying monetary incentives, but an incentive program, whether it's a thank you can be an incentive. Praise can be an incentive, a trophy once a year that says, hey, you've done a great job. You made the most calls or you made the most training. Little things like that on some volunteer departments go miles. It's great. So, but I think you hit that on the head with getting feedback from our people and then along with that, listening to it and acknowledging it.
A simple birthday card in the mail. A simple birthday card in the mail for all the firefighters on their birthday makes a difference.
Yep. I can tell you the personal cards are important.
On that note, we took some feedback, and instead of giving birthday cards to our firefighters, we started giving birthday cards to the children of our firefighters, and that's actually a pretty big lift, but very much appreciated. And one of those things, community
Wow.
and involvement and camaraderie in the organization has been well received.
That's a good one. I learned about the cards years ago. I mean, we're talking like 25 years ago. Smokey Dyer, who was the fire chief of Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department, at an IFC board meeting, we're on break, and he's over here signing his name to a bunch of cards. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, every member who has a birthday gets a personally signed card from the fire chief. That was a big deal. So let's switch gears a little bit. Before we do totally, I want to mention what you guys have talked about is not necessarily the roadmap, not necessarily a new concept, because Wildland uses that, and now the FEMA NIMS training stuff uses that, called a task book of Chief Winters, you talked about, you do these 10 tasks, and then when you get those 10, not that you get a red star, but maybe you get a gold star in the book saying, oh, good job, Chad. You just mentioned that as well. And I think that giving them awards or reward as they progress will help them. So that's not necessarily it's a good concept. I really believed in the task book way back in whatever it was, 50 tasks. You got a year to get them done. Can help that member meet the expectations, and that's what they all want.
Right.
So let's go ahead.
I just expound on that just for a second. We did the same thing with the quote task book. It's a new member binder. And you call it what you will, but list of expectations. What we found was we were very vague when we first started that. It was, we need you to be signed off on this engine and this engine and on this engine. And we need you to be able to do this and this and all the things, gear washer, fill SCBAs, all the things. But then we said, go find somebody to teach you how to do it. Go talk to a full-time member. Go talk to somebody. They'll teach you how to do it. And it really left a lot of things open and a lot of confusion, because then, one of the full-time members was like, oh, what am I supposed to teach you on this engine? What are you supposed to know? And now the task books are very specific. When you open it up, it says, these are the things that you have to know. And it tells you to list who you went through it with, what you went through, how they went through it. So everybody's expected to go through the exact same thing verbatim. And at the end, you're expected to know certain things verbatim. And then at the end, their direct supervisor signs them off on that if they can prove that they know how to do it. Because then it gives us checks and balances, and it gives us accountability to go back and say, yes, you know the things that you're responsible for, and we can move on. And it's really accountability to be able to go back and say, yes, this person has been trained on these things by somebody who is capable of training them on those things, and it's not vague. So again, specific expectations and then evaluation on those expectations are important with the task book.
All right, great. Well, we mentioned work-life balance a little bit earlier, and so Chief Cooper, I want to come to you on that work-life balance issue, and I will tell you that I, on the back of one of my books, I have the 5 F's: faith, family, friends, finance, fire department. Now, obviously, for a career firefighter, finance includes fire department, but what people have used that against me and said, "Oh, see, you always say family first." I go, "No, there are no numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beside those letters, because sometimes finance will come before family. Sometimes fire department would, it's got to be a moving target." So, Chief Cooper, how do you manage that work-life balance with your volunteers?
That's a great question. I think I'm looking forward to hearing what some of the other chiefs say too. That's one of the things we certainly struggle with. Back to the onboarding process. When a new firefighter expresses interest in joining the fire department, we always do an interview. We always sit down with myself or the deputy chief and talk to the new firefighter and try to lay out those expectations. Really, so they know what they're signing up for, and how many calls we go to, how much time is expected to attend emergency incidents and attend trainings and so on. And what we're trying to build towards is I want to make sure that the prospective new recruits know what they're getting in for because of the time commitment. And then the next part of that conversation is, we want to have a conversation about work-life balance. And we say, hey, look, if your employer does not want you to respond, during working hours, I don't ever want to get between you and your employer or cause any problems for you. So, work within the parameters that your workplace allows you. And many employers do allow their employees to respond to emergency incidents, but many don't. And so we want to make sure that I understand that, and our captains, lieutenants, and everybody understands that, because it leads to availability. But part of that initial interview process is we really assure our new prospective firefighters that we don't want to create that conflict in their work-life balance. And then we also talk to them about, there will be an impact to your family. There's going to be times where you're sitting down for dinner with your family, and it is necessary to leave and come to the station and be available for that emergency response. It's really what makes community. It's what makes it's really the backbone of our volunteer fire department is being there for our neighbors when they need help most, and that's part of the commitment that you're making. But at the same time, find that balance where you're not going to end up with a divorce because you couldn't find the work-life balance or the family life balance. And then the one thing we do talk about is recreation versus the fire department, and we try to talk to the new firefighters and say, hey, if we've got a Saturday training scheduled and it's it's all hands on deck kind of training, we're doing live fire training or whatever it is, and we need a lot of help with instruction or safety or whatever it is, and we need you to commit to attend that training, but you're struggling whether or not you want to go snow machining or hiking or whatever it is that weekend. There's going to be times where we ask you to prioritize the fire department, but not every time. I never want to be in a position where you feel like every weekend you're obligated or that you have to be available to attend those department-wide trainings. And so we try to give enough latitude to our firefighters that they don't feel like we're overwhelming them. But it's certainly a difficult line to balance, and it's something we struggle with in our own organization, but we're certainly aware of it and try to inform new prospective recruits and firefighters what to expect, and then work within those parameters that we've established.
Great. Some good comments. You talked about latitude. You used that word latitude, and I think that's one of those, again, a balance thing, is that you got, it can't always be about the fire department. So, Chief Hopeful, anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First and foremost, I think in the fire service, we all know if you're in the officer position or chief officer position, that you're just as much sometimes a counselor as you are a fire chief, sometimes maybe a babysitter. But that's okay, right? We want to support those people. Having an open door policy, my office door is open unless we're doing a webinar. My office door is open for anybody from firefighter, from new recruit, cadet, all the way up to come in and to talk to me about non-fire department stuff. I might not have the answers. In fact, a lot of times my answer is, here's a card for our EAP that we provide for all of our firefighters. This is somebody that you can call. This is a number that you can call that we've vetted that has helped out a lot of people. Maybe they can help out. But a lot of times people just need an ear. They just want to have somebody listen. I've got this thing going on. I just need to talk about it. And for me, work-life balance is important in the fact that some people need to be able to come someplace where they're understood and they're listened to and they're heard, and it's not strictly business. And that's important to us, but also having that EAP, a vetted EAP that can help out our employees when we don't have an answer, or when maybe our advice isn't enough to get them through a situation they have at home. If they're not going to be good at home, they can't be good for us on a volunteer or paid on call schedule. And two more things I want to touch on there is involving the family. My office at the fire station has got some kids' toys in the corner in a little box that kids come in and play with. When the kids drive by the firehouse with their families, they want to stop in and see the fire chief. They want to stop in and see the firefighters because we take a couple minutes and we play and we talk to the kids. We get them involved. Their kids want to be involved. They want to stop by the firehouse, and then those kids grow up to be firefighters. And I've seen it, because I've been doing this a little bit, and it's kind of cool to see, which I really like. But then the other thing is somehow creating flexible scheduling for our volunteers. When I first started on the fire department, our training nights were Monday nights at 7:00. That's when training was. And we had a lot of people that got real frustrated because they never got a chance to come to training. And so it was very, very tough for us to get those people with the required training hours. So we came out and said, you know what, how about we do training Monday nights, and we'll repeat that training Tuesday morning for those people that work nights, or for those people that are on a 24/48 at the time real fire department. We had those situations when we created the second day of training, the Tuesday morning. It allowed us to have those people be more involved, be included, and be a part of that fire department family. And we retained a lot more people that way because they were making that training. They felt like they were a part of the team. They felt appreciated because we made those accommodations. So flexible scheduling is also something that's important for our volunteers and paid on call.
Great. Chief Winters?
Yeah, I agree with both Chief Cooper and Chief Hopeful with a lot of what they've said. One thing that we've struggled with within my department since I've been on the last 20 years is every department has that guy that would leave his grandmother's funeral if the tones went off. We have trouble with some of those guys that don't understand why everybody's not that way. They think that everybody should be as dedicated as they are. We do paid shift hours during the day. Majority of volunteer fire departments are very shorthanded during the day because people are working. We do paid shift hours. I've got some guys that will come in and do paid shift hours, but they may not make a whole lot of calls outside of that. They're still being a productive member of the department, but I still have some firefighters that are resentful that they work day shift, but they don't respond at night, or they don't respond as much at night.
Right.
It's hard to get everybody to understand that every single person is an individual. We are not all cut from the same mold. I was one of those guys that I would show up for absolutely everything, and I didn't understand where people were. Well, sitting in a position and talking with people that aren't able to respond as much, it's opened my eyes to realize, okay, there is no cookie cutter mold. We can't say you have to make X percentage of calls, or you have to train X number of hours per month, because that doesn't work. Sometimes you're more available, sometimes you're less available. Like I said earlier, if you got kids and they're playing sports and they got travel baseball, travel football, soccer, whatever, they're not going to be as available as much. But when the kids aren't in season, okay, we want you to put forth more effort here. Let's step it up. We're going to give you've got the leeway to do what you need with your family, because that's what you have to do. You have to work. You have to go to your job every day. You have to go to school. Those are things that you have to do. But when you are available, step up.
That's a good point. When they are available, step up. Don't wait for somebody else to call them and say, hey, please come in. So I want to move on to one question. We got about 15 minutes left according to the schedule. Chief Hopeful is, let's talk about the kind of compensation programs that each of you have that may be, that may help in retaining those volunteers.
So we have transitioned multiple times throughout the years from being a completely volunteer department from the newest guy all the way up to the fire chief. And we have transitioned over the years to part-time fire chief, to a full-time fire chief back in like 2007, I think, to then having paid on call staff and then having full-time firefighters and now having paid on call in a combination, which is great for us. Doesn't always work for everybody for funding reasons and so forth. We do have the ability to have an awards banquet at the end of every year where we do awards and things like that. But we also pay people a small stipend for their training, which is great. And we have a required training that they have to be at 12 hours per quarter that they're required to with certain subjects, as some departments do. And then we have to put a cap on that, because if we said everybody gets paid for every training hour that they're here for, then, we would not be able to budget for that, because we have some of those people, men and women, that would be here, every waking hour because they don't have any other responsibilities. And that'd be wonderful, but we just can't do that. So we have to cap that. And so we actually pay for training for everybody on the department. The other thing that's really nice is we pay for training. So we budget heavily on training. Some departments have it set up where you have to pay for your own training and then you get reimbursed. It's worked out really well for our department that we pay for training up front for people. And then they pass the class. That's great. And then we have a document that they have to sign that says they give 2 years a commitment to the fire department. If they leave within those 2 years, that's fine. They just have to reimburse us for any certified class. That is a huge retention thing for us on our department, because some people can't afford some of these classes. And now we have classes that are upwards of several $1,000s for a week-long class. I know most of our staff, wouldn't take a week off their full-time job to go take a class, especially if they had to pay for it. So some people are using vacation time, and then we're paying for their class. We're paying for their hotel if they have to go someplace and stay. We're paying for transportation. We're giving them a stipend for meals, and we budget heavily for that. That way we have well-trained personnel and staff. That's really important for this department. We also understand that we're a stepping stone department. There's a lot of people that will get their training here. We literally have people that will move to our fire district so they can take classes paid for by the fire department. They will stay 2 years, and with clear expectation that they're going to leave after 2 years. The nice part is sometimes they find that they fit really well with our department. So they might go work for a full-time suburb department of Chicago, but stay with us as a paid on call if they're able, if they can wear two hats. So that works really well for us for compensation, paying for training, and then paying for the classes they're doing as well.
All right, Chief Winters.
Our department is a paid on call department. I am the only full-time employee. Everybody is essentially a part-time employee. None of them have to be here. They're all volunteering to be here, but we pay them for every call that they respond to. And if it's a multiple hour call, they get paid for multiple hours. We pay for their trainings. So their normal organized fire department trainings, our weekly trainings, we pay them for that. We pay them for their certification trainings also. And like Chief Hopeful said, we pay for those classes. We have not implemented a reimbursement policy yet, but has been discussed and considered. And then we also, during the day, staff have 2 people at the fire station, just because we don't know who's going to be available. We pay for those also. So it can be a part-time job. But it's flexible enough that they get to pick when they want to work. So I build a custom schedule every month for the daytime workers. They tell me what days they're available the following month, and I build that custom schedule for them. I don't just put a sign-up sheet and one person comes in and takes 28 days. So we try to balance it out and make it as even as possible. So that's really worked well for us. Some people don't. Most of the firefighters don't expect it. They don't expect to get paid the way we do. I mean, and it's not a stipend. We're minimum wage all the way up to, $25 an hour. In Illinois, that's pretty darn good. So for a part-time job, they're well compensated. In Illinois, last year was the first year that we were successful with lobbying for the legislature to provide an income tax credit for the firefighters in Illinois. A lot of firefighters won't qualify for that, but it is another incentive that the state is trying to help us with to help retain volunteers.
Okay, great. Chief Cooper.
Chief Winters just hit on something I was going to follow up on, and in addition to the programs that Chief Holtzell and Chief Winters talked about, we do the same stuff. But we went back last year to the Wyoming State Legislature, and we lobbied to create a bill. And I'm sharing my screen right now. We handed this white paper, a pamphlet out to our state legislature, and just kind of talked about the needs for recruitment and retention in Wyoming, and how many fires we have, and where the problems were. But the reason why I'm scrolling down is I'm trying to get down to what one of the bills that we promoted was right here is health insurance for emergency responders. And this bill was successful. It actually became an enrolled law, and in July this year, it's going to become available for volunteer firefighters to join the state of Wyoming's group healthcare program. And that's the kind of incentive that seems to encourage firefighters to consider joining the fire department. We've already had quite a bit of interest from people that are uninsured or underinsured that maybe can't afford some of the marketplace healthcare that's available, and they're interested in this because of the nature of being a group healthcare program, and because of some differences in caps and some differences in out-of-pocket expenses. That this might be something that's more palatable to them. Now, to be clear, the individual firefighters are still going to be it's still going to be necessary for them to pay for the entire cost of enrolling in that healthcare program. And we haven't seen it rolled out yet. Like I said, it won't become available until July 1st. But there's been a lot of interest already generated from this potential program. So potentially healthcare for volunteer firefighters. That's the kind of thing that might make a huge difference in addressing the huge gap for recruitment in the Wyoming Fire Service, at least.
Right.
On top of that, there's also a retirement system with the state of Wyoming. It's actually a long-standing program. It was initially implemented in the mid-50s, and all volunteer firefighters are eligible to participate in that program. And as a young fire, I joined when I was 19 years old. I didn't care. That wasn't something that grabbed my attention. But later on in my career, that's a nice benefit that I'm looking forward to receiving when I get to my retirement age. And speaking as a fire chief of my own organization, there's been several firefighters that have told me that it's made a difference, that they continue to stay with the organization for many more years because they want to receive that benefit. Now it's still, they're still volunteer firefighters. Nobody's going to get rich being a volunteer firefighter. You're not going to have a full retirement from this system. But for a lot of firefighters, it's a couple $100. It depends on how long you're in the system and how big that benefit is. It's different for everybody, but it's enough of an incentive that has made a difference in my own organization. And so to answer the question, we're looking for what programs, what incentives would encourage somebody to consider joining the fire department, and then just as importantly, consider staying with the fire department for as many years as we can get them for. And those are the kind of things that seem to have made a difference for us.
All right, great. All right, we got about 6 minutes left, and got a question or a request from Vincent P. If you all can send me a copy of your mentor programs, we'll get it uploaded so that they can have access to it. And then another question from Vincent P. And I have no idea if any of the three of you want to get into this question. What is your opinion on the proposed rulemaking for the OSHA firefighter standard? Anybody want to bite that bullet?
I don't think anybody really wants our opinion. It's the way it's written. I don't see this going through. It is a very muddled time restrictive, administrative restrictive process that's going to hurt a lot of volunteer fire departments. It's going to hurt a lot of career fire departments. I think the intent is phenomenal. We want to make sure that everybody's safe. We want to make sure that everybody goes home, they don't get hurt. We want to protect our people. So the intent is phenomenal, but the realism is not. If this were to go through the way it's written, it's an unfunded mandate that we have to try to figure out where we're going to get this money. So if we're going to have this money to do this, what are we going to cut? Are we going to cut services to provide what OSHA would want us to do? It's a huge double-edged sword because the concept is phenomenal. Practicality does not work.
I think if we're gonna look at it for this webinar to talk about how it truly affects retention, I really think that we just need to understand that our people are going to believe what we tell them. We try to foster a positive attitude in the fire service. When people are brought down with negative things consistently, obviously they're going to have a different opinion. If this is overwhelming to the leaders in the administration, and we show them that we're constantly frustrated about it, I think that's going to show with our employees as well. So whatever happens, whatever we have to do, we are going to have to use our peers in the fire service and leadership to talk about what's working best for their fire departments. But in platforms like this, I think, however, it's kind of the thing that if the board of trustees or your city fathers or whatever tell you to do something as the fire chief, and the fire chief, passes a policy or whatever it is, you don't say we have to do it because the fire chief says we got to do it, or the board of trustees, we do it because this is the policy, this is what we have to do. We're going to have to, we've been dealt hands in the fire service that we didn't think we'd have to deal with over the past 50 years, and we've made it, and we're still going to be here 50 years from now, so we're going to have to roll with the punches. So
I'll echo what's been said, but I submitted my comments, and I would encourage everybody to submit your comments as well. But it sounds like what Chief Winters submitted is pretty similar to what I said, is that I applaud trying to increase and improve safety, and there's a lot of good stuff in those recommendations that's going to directly address firefighter safety. But at the same time, it is an unfunded mandate. There's going to be some unintended consequences that really need to be vetted out.
Right.
One thing we are trying to do in Wyoming is engage with the Wyoming State OSHA Commission and talk about applicability to volunteers and compensation for volunteers, whether or not they're deemed under the purview of Wyoming State OSHA or not, and how that's going to be applied if this is rolled forward. And so that's one thing we're looking at that might be a little unique, I guess.
Yeah, one of my comments, and we will move on, but is that the OSHA rules apply the same to that fire department that makes 100 runs a year as the department that makes 100,000 runs a year. And it's like, how can that be realistic? How can that be validated? Because the risk is significantly different, the times of risk. So I think you all have encouraged the people who are listening to this, submit comments. You do not have to submit comments on the entire document. Pick out 5 of the items that you like or you don't like and submit comments on those 5 or on those 2, whatever. And so don't let the volume of the document scare you and saying, oh my gosh, I can't comment on the entire document. And don't tell them it's full of CRAP, because that won't go anywhere. Give them specifics on what is not good and what could be done differently. Suggest something different if necessary. So with that, we are coming up on 1 minute, and I will go back to the group here and ask for any kind of closing comments. Chief Hoefel.
You know what, I just encourage people to keep logging into these. I mean, obviously this is not a classroom. This is just us talk. So we have opinions. We all do things differently, but when I became a fire chief, I knew that I had to lean on people that knew more than me. And I still do that to this day. And I will continue to do that till retirement. So lean on those people. We're always available to reach out to, and we'll go from there. We'll keep moving forward.
Chief Winters.
We just have to remember that the fire service is dynamic. It's constantly changing. As humans, we try to resist change a lot of times, but sometimes we can't stop it. We have to go with it. We have to understand it. We have to learn, and we have to make it work for us. So moving forward is the ultimate goal, because if you're not stepping forward, you're taking 2 steps backwards. So just keep moving forward. I want to say go with the flow, but that's not easy. You just have to make sure that the changes that we go through, like the recruitment and retention that we've had problems with over the last 10, 15 years, we have to find a way to make it work. We just have to keep working at it. We have to do things differently than what we've done in the past and find a way to make it work.
All right, great. Chief Cooper.
Just listen to your people. That's one thing that we've really been focusing on and found success with is get that feedback from your personnel. Ask them what encouraged them to join the fire department, and then why do they stay with the fire department, and then what can we do to improve the organization to meet your needs and still provide public protection, and then just listen to that feedback, try to formalize how you receive that feedback, and then try to work to implement the recommendations that are going to accomplish those goals. So that's my recommendation.
All right. Well, thank you all. One of the final comments that with the retention programs, just like with any program, I was told this once. If it's not successful, you can stop it. So if you have a retention program that is not motivating your people, then quit doing it. So that, just that'll be my final comment for you. I want to thank our 3 presenters. They have, they probably are, they're all, Chad knows me a little bit. The Chief Winter, Chief Cooper don't know me. They're probably like, what is he going to get me into? But you all did great. You did exactly what we talked about. Is you guys had a discussion, and you gave me, as you talked, you gave me questions to come back with you or to you with, and so I appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. It's been a great webinar. We are 2 minutes over, but hey, fill out the survey for those who are attending. Fill out the survey, share it with other people. When you get the link, share it with people. Maybe use it in your officer meeting or things like that. Use it for training. But we appreciate everybody who showed up today. Appreciate our presenters. And with that, we're going to end the webinar. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe and be careful out there. Thank you.